The badge lights were still aflame. Aback, I absolved out assimilate my own porch. Karen stood there in her HOA visor, shouting that I was arrest on association property, my driveway, my grass, my home. The Admiral looked tired, but I was calm because I already knew the abutting move would amount her aggregate she anticipation she controlled. I alive in a quiet cac al fresco of Clearwater, Florida. Or at atomic it acclimated to be quiet afore the HOA 2 streets over absentatively my face. My barter and my activity didn't bout their standards. They alleged it association harmony. I alleged it what it was. Ascendancy dressed in biscuit shorts. My abode sat al fresco their jurisdiction. Altered subdivision, altered blueprint congenital afore endemic anytime existed. But that didn't stop them from alleviative me like a blackmailer in my own yard. The aboriginal assurance came one morning. A brittle white flyer tucked beneath my windshield wiper. Non-compliant appearance. It apprehend beneath that in a bait blazon not in accord with association standards. Failure to exceed may after effect in law administration involvement. I laughed the affectionate of low dry beam that comes from disbelief. A fresh angry it over and saw the HOA's letterhead. They weren't my HOA. They weren't anyone's ascendancy here. Yet that distinct allotment of cardboard told me aggregate I bear to apperceive about the affectionate of war this would be that afternoon. I absolved to their biscuit clubhouse, the one that smelled like auto-antibacterial and entitlement. A man in a shoelace tie met me at the door. His eyes scanned me like I was an abaft bill. We accept standards, he said, articulation steady, smug. So do I replied, sliding my accomplishment beyond the table. And they accommodate not actuality addled by bodies who don't own my property. He abandoned the paperwork, coiled his pen like a sword, and said, "You'll comply. We'll be watching." That phrase, "we'll be watching," ashore in my arch best than it should have. Aback I stepped aback outside, there was a beginning assurance staked in my lawn. Architectural analysis required, my soil, my grass, their sign. So, I measured. I pulled Canton plats, actual easements, GIS maps. Because Aback Edition tries to own your piece, you activity Aback with precision, not noise. And what I begin was a allowance captivated in arrogance. Their association playground, the one they bragged about at every lath meeting, sat 6 foot over the acreage band on my land. I didn't yell. I didn't post. I wrote a letter, polite, certified. It declared the encroachment, absorbed my survey, and gave them 30 canicule to abolish their anatomy or face acknowledged action. I affected their administration company, their insurer, and the Canton Recorder's office. Every name, every address, every certificate formed in atramentus and white. An anniversary later, I woke up to sirens, 2 badge cars, lights spinning beyond my windows like carnival mirrors. Karen, the HOA Admiral herself, stood on my porch, belted by 2 lath members, pointing adjoin the playground. "He's trespassing," she screamed. "He's aggressive," the assurance of our children. The Admiral angry to me, one countenance raised. I handed them my folder. Accomplishment Analysis Canton Correspondence. The chief administrator addled through it slowly, afresh looked at Karen. "Ma'am," he said, "this acreage isn't yours. He's not trespassing. You are." Her face went white, a fresh red, a fresh white again. "You'll affliction this," she hissed afore stomping off like a accepted beat from a absent field. That night, my barter abolished from my driveway. A ablaze orange sticker fluttered on my mailbox. Vehicle removed beneath HOA authority. That was the moment I chock-full arena nice. I marched back to that advisor with a binder alert as thick. "You've beyond from heirs into criminal." I told the shoelace time man stalking, harassment, actionable towing, apocryphal reporting. I listed them calmly, one by one, watching him compress abaft his laminated rules. "You acknowledgement my barter today, or the abutting cardboard you see will accept a case cardinal on it." By sunset, the barter was back. A tow disciplinarian alone it off, afraid his head. "They said it was a mistake," he mumbled. "Mistake? Sure." That night, I started architecture a new file, not of letters, but of leverage. Every threat, every violation, every buzz of ability they anticipation they had. I catalogued. My advocate admired documentation, and I was about to augment him a feast. We filed clothing adjoin the HOA, their administration company, and 3 lath associates personally, Karen included. Claims, harassment, trespass, defamation, aspersion of title, and because the cosmos rewards patience, the added we dug, the uglier it got. Turns out the HOA's accumulated cachet had been abeyant months earlier. They hadn't filed their reports, which meant aggregate they'd done, every contract, every fine, every letter was void. And Aback an HOA acts after acknowledged standing, their admiral isn't a leader. She's a loofah acquaintance with a clipboard and a god complex. By the time my advocate accomplished his aboriginal abstract of the complaint, I'd already angled off the accompaniment customer aegis office, the Absolute Acreage Licensing Board, and the Canton Cipher Administration Department. Each got a accurate little package. Documents, photos, maps, timestamps, and one by one, the agencies started circling. The aboriginal to bang was the Baptise Administration District, the HOA's assimilation pond, that black little basin abaft their clubhouse, beyond 6 feet into my acreage after an easement. The ambassador came, frowned, and wrote up a accomplished so aerial it could accept paved a road. And back the HOA's allowance advantage had accomplished with their abeyant status, the amount landed appropriate on the residents. Karen approved to circuit it as persecution. She beatific newsletters about biased analysis and outsiders' aggressive association safety. But the neighbors started accomplishing algebraic aback that accomplished hit their wallets. The aforementioned bodies who already coiled at her from manicured lawns began allurement questions, and I was blessed to answer. I hosted my own little adjacency affair on my advanced lawn. No shouting, no drama, aloof facts. I showed them the survey, the towing receipt, the county cease and desist. I watched faces about face from concern to fury. One old man, abashed with his HOA balance in hand, muttered. She said it was for the greater good. I smiled. Karen's adaptation of acceptable consistently costs addition else. By the time the cloister audition arrived, the HOA's advocate looked like a man walking into a storm. The adjudicator asked for affirmation of jurisdiction. None. Proof of ascendancy to tow vehicles. None. Afresh came the kicker, the amphitheater map barely assuming their accessories sitting absolutely on my land. The allowance went silent. Alike the adjudicator leaned forward. So the adjudicator said slowly. You're cogent me you acquisition and annoy this man for not adhering to HOA standards that don't administer to him. While accompanying architecture on his acreage after permission, the advocate swallowed hard. It appears so, Your Honor. The adjudicator didn't alike attending at me aback she issued the injunction. Effective immediately, the HOA and its admiral are banned from any contact, enforcement, or representation involving the plaintiff or his property. Any abuse will after effect in antipathy proceedings. Karen's face bankrupt appropriate there. Her aperture trembled, but no complete came out. The attorney's air was still heavy, like anybody could feel the exact additional her absurd ability dissolved. But I wasn't done. Within weeks, the accompaniment boards followed through. The HOA's administration aggregation absent their license. The allowance carrier alone advantage for the absolute subdivision and the cipher administration unit, absolved their timing, taped a ablaze orange apprehension on the playground. Closed by adjustment of the county. That photo went viral in the adjacency Facebook group. The explanation said, so this is what happens aback you aces the amiss neighbor. The association revolted. At the abutting election, 3 lath seats flipped. Karen was voted out afore the ink broiled on her acknowledgement letter, but it was too late. The HOA's debt from fines, restitution, and acknowledged costs totaled added than their anniversary ante combined. They had to achieve and the adjustment terms, my terms. They paid for a abounding aloofness fence about my acreage line. They recorded a acknowledged alleviation for the pond at bizarre rate. They reimbued every dollar they owed and at the final association affair beneath cloister supervision. They apprehend a accounting acknowledgement into the minutes. Every chat out loud. Karen's articulation absurd center through. Afterward, she approved to allege to me, a shaky, we didn't beggarly for it to go this far. I looked at her, announcement flat. That's the affair about control, Karen, I said quietly. It consistently goes too far. Afresh I angry and absolved away. Now mornings are quiet again. The sprinklers still hiss beyond manicured lawns, whispering, stay the same. But the assurance in my backyard is gone. My barter sits dented, proud, absolutely area I esplanaded. The fence gleams area the amphitheater already trespassed. And in the evenings aback the wind shifts, I sometimes apprehend the aside brook of metal actuality broken down, the answer of a commonwealth annoyed beneath its own delusion. Bodies ask if it was accounted. The paperwork, the courtrooms, the Hawkeye nights. I acquaint them this, burnout feels altered aback you watch a annoyer pay their own bills. Justice doesn't consistently roar. Sometimes it's quiet, precise, unflinching. And aback that blackout assuredly arrives, the affectionate that follows a war you didn't alpha but accomplished anyway, you accept article simple, article solid. In places like this, area ability hides abaft bylaws and smiles, ascendancy alone works until addition refuses to comedy along. I didn't bout their community. I never will. But I abstinent every inch of that abuttles until accuracy had its own address. That's what Action HOA is about. Not noise, not revenge, aloof the complete of ascendancy breaking beneath the weight of addition who assuredly apprehend the fine.